Over IRS Form 8879EX. This is the IRS e-file signature authorization for taxpayers filing an excise tax return. So we'll go through this one-page form. It's pretty straightforward. Usually it's filed electronically because it is an accompaniment to the electronic excise tax return, whether it's a quarterly excise tax return, the heavy highway use tax, or a claim for an excise tax refund. So we'll go step by step. There are three parts to this. Part one is the type of return and the return information. Part two is the taxpayer declaration and signature authorization. And part three is the certification and authentication. So again, this is the form that it's all electronic. It's a form that your tax return preparer, also known as an ERO, an electronic return originator, may ask you to complete in order to electronically file your tax return. So we'll start at the top. So let's just say that this is a tax return. We're going to put in the 2290, which is the heavy highway use tax. And let's just say that this was for the tax period of July 1st, 2024, ending June 30th, 2025. And we're putting in our taxpayers' information. John Doe operates a sole proprietorship with a fleet of trucks, and we're going to be completing this on his behalf. So part one, we already declared that we're filing the form 2290, which is the heavy highway use tax. You would simply check the appropriate box on the return, and then whatever the balance due is from the appropriate line. In whole dollars, you don't need to put in dollars and cents. So if you were completing line 1A, which is the quarterly excise tax, then you would choose either the balance due amount, which would be from part 3, line 10, or the overpayment, which is the refund you should be expecting from part 3, line 11. And you would enter that in the appropriate box, either in 1B or 1C. And then if you're claiming the refund, you would check box 3A, and then you would enter the total refund in box 3B. So keep in mind that if you're using schedules 2, 3, 5, and 8, you're going to have to complete a separate form 8879EX for each of those schedules. They can't be combined. So in our article, we actually break out what each of those schedules are, and you can get more information step by step on what you need to do here. In part two, this is your declaration of a couple of things. One, this is your permission for the tax return originator, transmitter, or intermediate service provider. So this basically covers everyone in that electronic chain of command, or that electronic chain of custody that may have any impact on your tax return. So whether it's your tax return preparer, whether it's the software company, the tax preparation software company, anyone involved in the electronic submission of your tax return between you and the IRS, this gives them the information to do exactly that. And without this form or a similar form in their records, they cannot actually process the electronic version of this. This is the permission that you give to them to submit your return on your behalf. So they can also receive an acknowledgement of receipt, or the reason that the IRS may have rejected this transmission, the reason for any delay in processing your tax return, the date of any refund. So any of that information as it comes out, they're able to receive that and then pass it on to you. And then finally, it also allows, if you owe the IRS money, to be able to take money from direct debit or an electronic funds withdrawal from the banking account information that you've put into your tax software. If you decide that you want to revoke that payment, then there's a contact information. To be able to do that, you would need to contact the U.S. Treasury with the contact information. You have to be at least 2 business days before the payment settlement date. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to do this. So in this section, you can either authorize your return originator to enter your PIN, and you would just simply type this in, Smith Enterprises, and then you cannot have a PIN that's all zeros, but you can have a PIN that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you can enter your own PIN on your electronically filed tax return, in which case your tax return originator would pass it along to you. You would enter your PIN, and then you would send it back through whatever tax software they happen to use. In part 3, this is going to be the certification and authentication of your electronic return originator's electronic filing ID number, followed by your PIN number. So this would be, let's just say, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this would be your electronic return originator's signature, date, right below your signature and date. Now, this is required for your tax return preparer. They're required to keep this on file for at least 3 years. They're not going to send this to the IRS unless the IRS flags your return for audit or if their office is being examined by the IRS. So this is pretty straightforward. There are instructions on the back of this form. If you want to electronically sign your tax return and you don't want to use this form, then you have to use IRS Form 8453-EX. That's the excise tax declaration for an e-file return. So one or the other, you don't need to do both, but and then the instructions also outline your tax return preparer's responsibilities as well as your responsibilities. So we do cover all of this in depth and a little bit more information for your benefit in our article, which we've attached the link to in our show notes. So we'll also put links in the show notes to related forms and resources we've created about related forms mentioned in this video. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like watching our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, or if there's another topic that you'd like to see in an upcoming video, please hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much and have a great day.